Do you like sports games? Do you like throwing a ball around? Do you also like being alone and having no teamwork whatsoever? Then Pastime is the game mode for you! Throw a ball, jack around with the lack of teamwork in a mode that was meant to emphasize teamwork, as you attempt to score a goal, only to be stopped by 3 sentries camping the goals.
Oh, Pastime, you had potential, but boy did you slam face first into a painful wall of truth. The only known official game mode to be developed in conjunction with an outside studio, Bad Robot and Escalation Studios, Pastime was announced on August 18th, 2015, and shoved into beta immediately. The beta lasted for about a year until Meet Your Match added it as a complete game mode on July 7th, 2016. Both the beta and official releases caused little to no fanfare of its inclusion and creation. For those of you who are unaware of how Pastime works, let me give you guys a brief overview. Teams play on a symmetrical map with each side having 3 separate goals, a run-in goal, a throw-in goal, and a bonus goal which has to be unlocked through specific means. A jack will drop in the middle of the map, allowing either team to pick it up. When someone picks up the jack, they become incapable of attacking and instead are only allowed to throw the jack by pressing the primary fire button. Since I don't want to get into the intricacies of this mode, seriously, there's a surprising amount. In layman's terms, throw ball in goal and score points. Use weapons to prevent the other team from doing that. Got it? I'm going to assume you said yes and move on. Sports games usually mean a heavy emphasis on teamwork, and Pastime was no exception. The kicker here is, this was the problem. TF2, despite having the term team in its name, is a very casual game to most players. Yes, it has a competitive side and it can be played in an organized format with organized team play. However, no matter who you are, you have to accept the fact that a majority of players simply don't play this way. Strategy and teamwork is not something most players in TF2 do when it comes to playing on a normal server. If you don't believe me that this game mode requires teamwork to function as intended, all you have to do is read the blog post that introduced it. There is an entire section about strategy and emphasizing how important it is to play as a team. When you say it's vital to play as a team, that means teamwork is a pretty important component of not just this game mode functioning the way it was intended to, but also that way you have fun while playing it. Pastime failed because it's simply not a mode that's fun to play in a casual setting that usually lacks teamwork. In fact, playing Pastime can lead to serious frustration when teamwork is not being used. As an example I think we can all relate with, remember middle school PE? Did you ever have to play team-based games? Did those games require a ball to be passed around? Did you have that kid who would never actually pass the ball to anyone and would attempt to Leroy Jenkins it all the way down the court? That's basically most Pastime experiences, dealing with the ball-hogging Boston boys. In addition to a lack of teamwork ruining the goal of the game, this mode came in at a time when TF2 already had many easy to understand and grandfathered in game modes like Capture the Flag, King of the Hill, and Payload as examples. Just looking at the wiki page for Pastime, you can see there's a lot of little but important details that this game just does not make apparent. Couple this with the fact that this isn't a game that can already be hard for new players to get into due to a multitude of reasons, Pastime's confusing rules and wildly different gameplay was sure to turn many people away. Since I mentioned it was a very different game mode, some of you may be asking if it's a different gameplay that was a factor in its failure. Why did Man vs. Machine, a game mode completely different from the PvP nature of the rest of the game, succeed as well as it did? Well, I think there are a few reasons for that. The first was that it had been hinted at and hyped up for around 2 years. For MVM, hints were dropping well before the game mode was revealed, getting players excited for something that seemed to be a large aspect that was going to be added to the game. But most importantly, it delivered on the expectations. Secondly, it's simple to pick up. Yeah, MVM has some set metas and all, but if you actually look at the game mode, it's very simple. You fight waves of AI-controlled robots with 5 other people, where you can pick up money to be used to upgrade your weapons and your class. Compare that to the essay of brand new mechanics that is Pastime, and MVM suddenly looks appetizing to give us players. So what if Pastime was played like it was supposed to be played? Well, I can confidently say it's actually a lot of fun. Saying that should mean a lot coming from a person who swore off playing sports that included balls since middle school. Luckily, I've had the opportunity to play on a server where both teams are very much so trying and communicating to win the game, and surprise surprise, it's actually an entertaining game mode when being played as intended. In fact, there have been competitive formats used for pastime tournaments, and from what I understand, it actually reins in the game mode into a playable, acceptably competitive format, which leads to teamwork being more required and shorter games. While I myself have never participated in one, I'm sure limiting teams to one NG would make a world of difference. I cannot stress how irritating it is to roam into the goal area as a scout and be met with 3 different sentries denying you the entire area. This is how pastime was meant to be played, but this is not how pastime was ever going to be played. I think Bad Robot horribly overestimated how many players are willing to work together on a casual server. They expected the teams to actually work as teams and built the game mode around the element. While making teamwork almost required is arguably not a flawed game design, when doing so you must understand the player base that will be playing your game or mode. Unfortunately, the sad fact of the matter is that's just not how a majority of the TF2 player base works. Even though the game is called Team Fortress 2, the team aspect really only comes into play during competitive formats, and for some odd reason, overtime, when teams magically come together as one despite no communication. While I personally don't think it's a bad game mode, albeit a very odd one, I do believe its strange nature also attributed to its forgiveness. Additionally, take into account that Rocket League had just released a few months prior, and the similarities between the two were inevitable. There were constant remarks that Pastime was just a knockoff TF2 version of Rocket League, and in some regards, these were warranted, but when you actually compare the two, they were vastly different. About the only true similarities are that they have a ball and a goal. It's sports ball, people. A ball being thrown, kicked, or hit into a goal is common. It's like saying football and soccer are similar. Wait, that's a bad example. It's like saying hockey and basketball are similar because they both require players to get an object into a goal. While Pastime is certainly a mode that exists, due to its design it never had a chance, so it was thrown aside with other modes such as Arena, Territorial Control, and Robot Destruction. All these modes I would love to see be revisited and tweaked, but I know they never will. Oh well, if you're a masochist, then Pastime is certainly the mode for you.